Being a Christian does not mean that we should be afraid to speak up for truth and stand up for justice. So in the past few days, amidst the protests that were going on in India, I posted a couple of videos, and in that I talked about the importance of prayer, but at the same time, the importance of practically speaking up, sharing on social media and attending the protest for what is right. But I've got so many messages from Christians and a lot of comments on my videos where Christians are saying that, hey, the gospel points people to Christ. You should not be protesting. We should just be praying about these things and God will take care of these things. So what I have to say is that that's a totally unbiblical idea. That is not scriptural. That is a very religious idea. So, and I know many Christians follow that and believe that, many churches believe that. But let me tell you, that's not biblical. That's not scriptural. Jesus never teaches that. Okay? If you look at the life of Jesus himself, Jesus was not a quiet person who just walked quietly in the corner of the road and just prayed alone in some synagogue or some church. No, Jesus was very open in talking about the evil of his day, the injustice of his day, the social evils of his day. He would openly confront it. When the rich would exploit the poor, or when the more powerful people would exploit the weaker people, Jesus was never afraid to speak up against it. Both the social evils and the religious evils that were happening in his day, Jesus would openly speak up against it. That's why people hated him. That's why people killed him. He was killed by the powerful people of his society because he spoke up against their hypocrisy and their evils. And that's why people hated him. Today, we don't do that. We don't speak up against what is wrong. We just let it be. My friends, in order to be a faithful Christian, it must show in our actions. We must really love the truth that we cannot stand unrighteousness. We must be able to speak up for what is wrong. And this not just applies for the protest. My friends, in your workplace, in your colleges, in your schools, when we look at injustice, when we see injustice, we must openly speak up against it. Again, I'm not saying we should be violent. I'm not saying we should be angry. No, we must be peaceful people. But we must speak up. For example, when I used to work in the corporate as well, there were times where I saw, data manipulation, injustice, wrong things being done. But as a follower of Jesus Christ, I could not keep quiet. I had to speak up against what is wrong and what is evil, because that's what God expects us. Again, my friends, we shouldn't be violent, but we should speak up and stand up for truth